Oh, hey everyone, it is I, Eurogamer's Ian Higton, although you can call me by my Na'vi name, Jortu. As you can see, for today's video, I have disguised myself as a Na'vi so that I can undertake a very dangerous covert mission right here on the world of Pandora. As a huge Far Cry fan, I've been asked to check out some exclusive gameplay capture from the upcoming video game Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora to find out just how much it compares to Ubisoft's most famous open world series. Except for Assassin's Creed, the one after that. Far Cry. Will it be a shameless clone? Will it be a massive improvement on all of the Far Cry games that have come before it? Or will my efforts to find any similarities be completely unobtainium? I mean unobtainable. Let's find out! What better place to start the Far Cry comparisons than with Frontiers open world, which, in the case of Pandora here, really does look gorgeous. How big this open world is remains to be seen, but it certainly does look massive, and I wouldn't be surprised if the floor space rivals that of Far Cry 6. What's really different here though is of course Pandora's floating islands. These islands feel like something you'd have previously seen in one of Far Cry's traditional tripping balls hallucination scenes, but in Frontiers they are a part of the environment, and while it looks like a lot of these islands are probably bare with maybe a few dotted around that hold story and collectible elements, it seems like their main purpose could just be as a location for some really cool arenas for epic dogfights, or perhaps some Far Cry style checkpoint races too. Back on ground level, you'll notice that there is way more flora here than in your usual Far Cry games, and there are exotic alien plants everywhere. With what looks like a severe lack of human-built cities, the plant life and rock formations in Frontiers take centre stage here, and while again it does look lovely, due to the density of the detail and the way that the environment has this alien geometry to it, it does look like it may be kind of confusing when it comes to working out the correct route to go at times, especially when you're climbing mountains. People take the piss out of Resident Evil's yellow paint all the time, but at least with that game, you know that you're heading in the right direction. In previous Far Cry games, climbable towers have acted like mini first-person climbing puzzles, but in Frontiers, it really looks like these kind of challenges have been built into the actual environment itself. Staying with plants for the moment, the flora of Pandora, ooh that rhymed, is also used to replace things that you'd normally see in Earth-based Far Cry games. These volatile plants here, for instance, they look like they'll be an organic version of the classic explosive red barrels, while other plants like these ones here give off electric shocks if you get too close. Ooh, that hurt. And these ones act like locked doors, where you need to follow the vines and destroy the connected bulbs in order to force them to open. Even your traditional upgrade items have been turned into alien plants in this game, like say this bell sprig here, which, when touched, will increase your Na'vi's maximum health. In terms of fauna, there's also a fair amount of native Pandoran animals walking around, some of which are recognisable from the movies, while others are brand new. Just like in standard Far Cry games, some animals are harmless and they're solely for hunting, while others will attack you, honey badger style. But in general, at least from the section of gameplay that I was given, this world does seem emptier of animal life than I would have expected. Finally, in terms of actual buildings, various Na'vi tribes that live around the game world set up base in natural locations, like the home tree here, which seems to be your standard Far Cry style safe zone that features merchants, crafting areas, and random NPCs that will occasionally talk out loud to themselves or to each other.
It is the sky people who are driving them from their home.
When it comes to human-built structures, these seem to be dotted around irregularly, with most being abandoned, polluted areas that hold off-world loot like ammo for guns. One of the main similarities to the Far Cry series in Frontiers has to be the first-person parkour, which seems immediately familiar, and even like some of the animations have been lifted and repurposed straight from the Far Cry series. The difference here though is that you're playing as a Na'vi and not a puny human, so not only can you move faster on foot than in a Far Cry game, but you can also use your bright blue leggies to jump higher too. And talking of jumping higher, some of the alien flora can also be used to enhance your parkour antics, like these springy flowers and these lift vines, which acts like a weighted pulley. Oh, and as you can see from this footage, swimming also looks pretty much identical to that from the Far Cry series too. Vehicles-wise, it doesn't look like there are any cars to drive in, at least not in any footage that I've seen, but you can tame and ride some of the native land animals if you want. Why you'd need to do that once you've tamed your own Ikran, though, is anyone's guess, as they easily look like the coolest and most efficient way to make your way around the map, especially when you can call yours in at the touch of a button, even, and this is cool, when you're falling through the air. Whether you can steal and then climb into an amp suit and mech stomp your way around Pandora isn't known yet, but it would be pretty cool if you could do that.
Go faster?
RDA operations are threatening the balance of Pandora.
So one of the things not present in the gameplay footage that I was given was a traditional Far Cry style Outpost takedown. Luckily, there's been footage of this kind of thing in a recent game overview trailer, and we can see here that, despite the alien setting and the sci-fi weaponry, everything kinda looks right out of the Far Cry playbook, especially this alarm disabling animation. In Far Cry games, outposts like this are normally signposted by bonfire smoke that rises into the air, but in Frontier, it's plumes of pollution that are belched into the sky, allowing you to see these targets from a distance. Just like in Far Cry, you can also mark your enemies from afar before attacking these outposts, although you'll be using your Na'vi instincts here instead of a camera, and then all you'll need to do is wipe everyone out to trigger a nice little cutscene that shows nature returning to a once polluted area.
With the pollution removed, Pandora heals.
As I mentioned earlier, it's possible to tame animals and then ride them in Frontiers, and the way you approach and soothe them with your hands outstretched is very similar to the way that it worked in Far Cry Primal, except with fewer fingers and blue paint jobs. The difference here, though, is that taming or soothing animals isn't just limited to getting mounts to ride. You can also soothe animals that have RDA darts attached to them. Remove a dart successfully and it will heal the animal and then award you with spare parts that you can use in crafting recipes. Some animals can also be found trapped in electric cages, but as you can see here, by destroying the fuse box of the contraption holding this young hammerhead down, you can set it free, which makes me think that you could potentially slyly release a caged animal that's surrounded by enemies and then sit back and watch as chaos unfolds. As a very important aside here, when you tame and bond with your first Ikran, you are then asked to choose a name for it from a list of 10. Now, I'm all for freedom of choice and all that, but if you don't immediately decide to name your Ikran Floof, then, well, I'm pretty sure that there is something seriously wrong with you. Because the Na'vi you play as in Frontiers was brought up by humans, you'll have proficiency over all types of weapons, including firearms like this here future gun. Very gunny indeed. But it looks like, for a large portion of the early game at least, that you'll mainly be rocking the bow and arrow in traditional Far Cry Primal style. The bow here is very versatile because it can not only take down little animals that attack you in packs, but they can also make pretty short work of a rampaging amp suit too. Shame the same can't be said for this Thanator though. It's fast, ferocious, and it seems to be able to soak up a huge amount of damage. If you're a fan of Far Cry's looting, hunting and scavenging mechanics, then oh boy do I have some good news for you, because in Frontiers the whole process looks very similar indeed. See a box of loot, press button on box, get a canned animation, and boom, you see the liberated items appearing on your HUD. That's the quintessential Far Cry looting experience right there. Loot takes various forms in the game, like ammo, armor upgrades, and crafting ingredients, but just like in Far Cry 3, you can also raid Mother Awa's pantry to find items that will allow you to craft medicine and buffs. Due to the density of the jungle, it's a good idea to use your Navi senses to show you exactly where gatherable items are, and this will also highlight the tracks of animals you can then hunt, and any hostiles in the area too. Animals you hunt and kill will also give you various ingredients. That young hammerhead we rescued earlier, for instance, would have given us weapon and arm guard crafting materials and some fatty meat cooking ingredients too. What is new, however, is the way that you harvest cooking ingredients. For example, if you want to get your hands on this nest egg, it will need a really good wiggle, almost in the style of a lock-picking mini-game. Each ingredient has certain optimal conditions for harvest that will increase its effectiveness if you pluck it at the right time. In this case, you can see that it would have been better to harvest this fruit during a rain shower, but you can easily pass time by interacting with campfires and other resting spots if you want to get the optimal gathering conditions needed for a perfect haul. Oh, and on the subject of harvesting things, I'm not sure I'm supposed to find these animations sexy, but well, yeah, I kind of do. So it turns out I'm not allowed to show you footage of the map, menus, or the crafting tables in Frontiers, so you'll have to take my word for it, but menus-wise, they're the most Far Cry thing ever. There's a skill tree, a character customization menu, a list of quests, and even a hunter's guide that keeps track of everything that you've seen and hunted. And they're all laid out in traditional Far Cry style with a bit of a Pandoran spin to them. Map-wise, it's a top-down, slightly 3D affair that's a bit more interesting to look at than the standard flat maps that you got in recent Far Cry games. So, yeah, it's mainly the same here, but with a few little improvements sprinkled on top, I guess. Ooh, how exciting. Oh hey, so it turns out this disguise wasn't as great as I thought it would be, and I'm currently being chased through the undergrowth by a group of very angry Na'vi. Seems like I wasn't able to blend in as well as I thought I would when I attended a traditional bathing ceremony. Turns out when it comes to Na'vi, it's not just their arms and legs that are long, if you get what I'm saying, and the old "it's cold" excuse doesn't really wash on a tropical planet. So do like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to Eurogamer for almost daily videos about video games, and why not click on one of these other videos that are on screen and clickable right now while I try to work out how the hell I'm going to get down off this floating rock without breaking my bloody neck. Oh my god, I think I can hear them coming. I really don't want to have a spear inserted into me today. That would definitely leave me feeling blue. Did you see what I did there?